What is happening, birds and nerds? Welcome back to Tuesday Night Hype. We have another semifinal coming up for you. This one is going to be between TripleDouble and I believe Dani21, correct?
Yes, that's what it
Awesome.
looks like. Triple double and dani21.
Dani21. All right, cool. So TripleDouble is going to be bringing a Warlock, a Rogue, and a Paladin, and Dani21 is bringing his Priest, Paladin, and a Mage. So a couple unique classes in there we don't see all too often. So this should be pretty fun.
Yeah, Rogue has been underrepresented for a little while, but we're starting to see it make a comeback, especially at the BlizzCon. I've seen more people play Rogue than Secret Paladin thus
Yeah.
far in that tournament, and just looks like Rogue is making somewhat of a comeback all around.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to catch too much of BlizzCon, but I wasn't aware they were playing a lot of rogues there. That's pretty awesome.
Not a lot,
But
but
a
enough
lot
that
compared, I
it's
suppose.
yeah, comparatively. There's been no Secret Paladin recently at a the highest competitive level, which is very surprising to me because it seems like such a good deck. But
Well, I think they try to go for non-revealed decks. So running a secret paladin, there's only so many things you can tweak to it. So I guess that's why they choose more unique decks.
yeah, there's also the plus of like playing a deck that's not really targeted by many players, like Secret Paladin and um, Druid and stuff like that. They have like a target on their backs because they're so popular. But if you play an out of meta deck like Rogue, people aren't really going to expect it. They might not know how to play against it, and they might not have text for it.
Yeah, that's true. So while they get set to play, I guess me and Valetti always do a little bit of chat about what do you think the first matchup is going to be? What do you think TripleDouble and Danny are going to bring out in the first game here?
So triple double is Warlock, Rogue, Paladin, and Danius Priest, Paladin, Mage. I think triple double is not going to want to open Warlock because it has an 50-50 Paladin matchup. It has a poor Mage matchup, and it probably has a good Priest matchup. But I feel like he's probably going to start Paladin since it's pretty neutral start.
Yeah, that's true.
He could start Rogue as well. Rogue seems like it's really good against Mage and Paladin and Priest. I'm not sure if it's good against Priest, but it seems like it'd be fine. I think Rogue is probably his triple double's best opening, and
Yeah.
then
And
Danny.
I think you're just about right. You mentioned that he might potentially bring the Rogue. We're going to hop into the game here, and he does decide to bring the Rogue out on game
Yeah,
one. And
that's
Danny is going with a Paladin. Like you said, it's a neutral deck, so it should fare pretty well.
yeah. I figured triple double would open with the Rogue with that lineup. It's the only thing that makes sense to open with. I still have to get him to add me. Could you ask him to add me so I can spectate him?
Yeah, and I think it's in Skype if you want to watch that for now.
For some reason, that's not loading for me, so I can't see triple double's hand, but I can see Danny's hand, and he has a pretty strong start. He has 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it looks like triple double opens with Celsi deckhand. So I'm assuming he might be a more aggressive rogue, but if he's a combo rogue, opening with Celsi deckhand is really poor. You generally want to save that for your combo turns with oil.
Yeah, definitely. And then just to feed you some information, Danny is actually running a bit more of a mid-range paladin. He's got a Shield of Mini Bot. He's got Muster. He's got a Harrison Jones teched in, and he also has Murloc Knight.
Okay, so this is actually a much more aggressive rogue deck because he's playing Dread Corsair, so that generally indicates that it's aggressive because it's more combo esque, and
I
he
gotcha.
doesn't have any of the higher end cards like Sprint or um, Boom or anything like that that indicates that it's not aggressive.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Danny's going to throw down his Muster here. It's going to allow him to clear the Dread Sea, or rather, Deckhand South Sea, not Dread Sea.
Yeah,
Opposite card.
and Danny has Harrison Jones, who's going to come in handy if he's able to wait until triple double uses like a deadly or perhaps an oil on it on the weapon, and then he can get him
Yeah,
with Harrison.
yeah, that'll
And
make it a lot more valuable. Like you said, hopefully he can wait for a really solid turn to utilize that.
Yeah, and it looks like he drew True Silver, which could be really good if we just see a tempo SI7 agent.
Yeah, which is I mean that's just about his only option here is to throw down the tempo SI. He has no way to combo out the 2 damage. Nothing else to really do other than play Deadly Poison, but there's not much merit to making that play.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're gonna most likely see either a hero power pass or tempo SI, and it looks like he decides to go with hero power. I'm assuming he's probably just gonna pass because oh, interesting. So I wonder why he decides to hit. He has no play for next turn besides hit face and then re-weapon and play a tempo SI because you don't want to put deadly poison in a weapon that has 1 attack. And
Yeah.
because he just hero powered, Danny also has the initiative to just play Shredder. Whereas if he played Tempo SI, Danny might have played True Silver because he might not want to face tank that damage.
Yeah, that's really true. And that Shredder is going to be really difficult to handle here. I don't see much of a way for him to deal with it. At least not cleanly, otherwise.
No, if he is an aggressive rogue deck, he probably should have held the weapon so he can just go double deadly, hit face SI face, and just stick with the game plan, or just deadly once to play around Harrison and play like South Sea and SI face and just try to just kill him that way. But now he's just making really awkward plays that are
Yeah, he's going to be trading into a mid-range deck, which is, it's exactly what Danny wants in this situation. Triple
yeah,
Double is going to run out of steam before, Danny does, and he's got next turn he can get some card draw to refill his hand, but he has plenty of options. He can throw down
yeah.
Murloc Knight pretty much unanswered.
I would really not like to see Danny use Harrison here. I would rather see him use it once there's a buff on the weapon. Here, I think I would like to see him just play down Murloc Knight and hit face, and
Yeah,
just
that's I think the play I was thinking of is throwing down Murloc Knight, hoping it doesn't get answered, and even if it does, it has to be face tanked, as far as we know by triple double, or double SI. Well, he can't even double SI. He has no way to combo out 2 SIs,
yeah.
so it'd be really tough for him to clean it up.
This
Doesn't
play
love
is
to play
still
a
fine
weapon.
though. He's guaranteeing himself value out of his Murloc Knight next turn if he chooses to play it, but we're most likely going to see a deadly poison come down here, which is going to prompt the Harrison to come out.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like you said, I think triple double kind of he just made a couple mistakes in the way he was playing, and he steered away from his game plan. You mentioned very early it seemed like a very aggressive deck, and I don't think he was. He's not smorking as much as he should be. He's not going face like a good old hunter or a good old face rogue should.
I don't necessarily think they're mistakes, but knowing what Danny's playing, it is, but he doesn't know what Danny has in
Yeah,
his hand and like what he's playing just yet.
that's a really good point. We're coming from a different view, and he doesn't attack with the weapon, so that's gonna get punished really heavily by Harrison Jones.
Yeah, I think at this point you kind of are saying, sure, I don't attack with this weapon. I kind of want to get value out of it. Maybe draw an oil and then make it even bigger and get more value that way. But if you have Harrison, the game's probably just over. And the like, I like that. Like just not playing around certain things like Harrison because if they have it, the game's probably over anyways. And we see a Bloodsail Raider, so that does indicate it's some type of like more combo-y rogue deck, perhaps
Yeah.
even pirate rogue. And he's just not drawing the pirate end of the deck.
Yeah, it's true. We might be missing a couple of the cards in his deck. They might be sitting at the bottom, and he's not really getting the combos he's looking for. So, it could prove to be a stronger deck in future games if he ends up losing this one.
Here is like he's in an interesting position. If I draw dead as triple double, I might just consider conceding as to not show that I'm a pirate rogue. Because he hasn't really played too many cards that are out of the ordinary that rogues wouldn't normally have besides the double South Sea. And he's definitely pirate rogue.
Yeah, with that ship's cannon draw, he's definitely pirate rogue. So I think you're right. I think you just try to conceal what kind of a deck you are at this point. That
I
would
don't
be a pretty heads up play.
I don't think there's any way you can win at this point. And it actually looks like there's lethal on board that you can't stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see any way for him to answer this properly and get out of this. So
I think the only way is if he plays Ship's Cannon Bloodsail Raider, and the Ship's Cannon damage hits the 3/3, and then he can SI the Murloc, which will debuff the Murloc Knight, and
yeah,
he'll survive on board, but he'll still be dead to True Silver. And it looks like TripleDouble doesn't want to reveal what he's playing. He decides to concede.
yeah. So game one going to Danny and his mid range paladin.
Yeah, I
Um,
really like the play from Danny. He played it really solid, and he got rewarded.
Yeah, he held on, like you said, he held on to that Harrison Jones for the proper time, taking out a buffed weapon. So, why do you think he runs something like Harrison Jones? Obviously, he's not really teching against Rogue. It's not overly common, but I guess it works very well against Secret Paladins and Hunters as well. Correct?
Yeah, and Warrior
Yeah,
to some
and
degree.
Warrior,
There's some
obviously.
Warriors floating around in the metagame. Control Warrior, it's really good against Patron, but I don't think we've seen too much of that.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's all around. Harrison's never really horrible, especially when a lot of the main decks in the metagame do revolve around having some type of weapon.
No, that's very true. I like to run it in a lot of my decks too. Well, not a lot of my decks, but a handful of them. It just always seems to serve a pretty solid purpose.
Yeah. And
Uh,
in like grindy control matchups, Harrison's just like another way to inch out value.
Yeah, that's true. So we're gonna hop into game two here. Danny gonna be switching up to what looks like a freeze mage, and TripleDouble is going to be switching to
His own mid range
his own
paladin.
mid-range paladin. I was gonna say it could potentially be that odd secret paladin with zombie chow, but they usually run one, correct?
Um Depends. If you're teching for aggro, two is really good.
Yeah, that's true. But
So it
I
depends what
think
he
the
expects.
quartermaster reveals that it's more mid-rangey.
Yeah, no, even control paladins like would play quartermaster. It's just such a high value card.
Yeah,
And here we see, I like what TripleDouble did is a lot of players, for some reason, they always decide to not change up decks. They just queue up the same deck that they lost with, which I don't like to do because generally people will counter what you just played. Like Danny, this Freeze Mage has a really good rogue matchup, so had TripleDouble stayed on the same deck, he would have gotten punished. And I like the fact that he switched.
yeah, definitely. It's something you're going to be the expert here on. You're a much more heavy tournament goer than I am, so I appreciate the input on that. Not something that I would have noticed otherwise.
Yeah, here we might see a ping and or a mad scientist, or we could even see an acolyte. I think I would rather see the ping on the zombie chow or the acolyte come down because on the board it looks like the acolyte will most likely draw two cards or just have soak up a weapon attack, like have the weapon hit it.
Yeah. And I think, do you think he's playing around something like that, like potentially seeing a true silver champion come out, or do you think he just why do you think he elected to go with the mad scientist there?
He just wants to pull secrets out of his deck. It's kind of hard to find turns where you can play the scientist, and you want to pull the secrets out of your deck as soon as you can so you don't draw them.
Yeah, that's true. And he ends up getting an ice block, so
Yeah. And with two zombie chows on the board, you're not really going to die anytime soon, so not pinging it is also fine.
definitely.
You're just more mana efficient because it depends what you want to do. If he had pinged last turn, he'd be able to play he'd be able to play Mad Scientist this turn and ping, but now he has a more awkward turn.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Now he has no way to clear, an efficient amount of these dudes. So if he doesn't ping, do you think he quartermaster next turn is TripleDouble?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
quartermaster.
especially because he's not pinging. So Danny's just throwing down the ice barrier.
Yeah. I would quartermaster here and just push for the value, especially before like Blizzard turn. Like this is when you want to do it the most is when you're not going to get punished by Blizzard or Flame Strike. You might even get two turns of the 3/3s out. The only thing that can stop it is Frost Nova.
Which he does have a Frost Nova and a Doomsayer combo. So
Hmm.
do you think Danny's going to end up electing to go with that play next turn?
Yeah, he has to stop the aggression somehow, even
Yeah,
though it's not actually going to stop it. If Triple Double decides to play equality and weapon that.
Yeah, we'll see what he decides to do, but I don't see any other reason to do something else. That's a really strong board to lose, and there's, I don't see any reason not to clean up that Doomsayer.
Yeah, especially since he drew Coghammer. It's even if he gets punished by Blizzard, he'll at least keep one creature because of the Coghammer now.
Yeah, that's very true.
But it
Oddly
looks,
enough, if he does get punished by, or if he were to have gotten punished by a Blizzard, you know, Danny would have been still sitting at 28 health.
yeah, I think Danny's in a pretty good position. This matchup, I would say, is fairly Freeze Mage favored, depending on how much heal Triple Double runs. If Triple Double runs like double antique heal bot, lay on hands and stuff, there's a potential that when Alex Raza comes down, Triple Double can just heal out of the range, but generally, Danny is pretty favored.
Yeah, I mean, he does pick up an antique heal bot, so that could be helpful in the future if he gets Alexed.
Yeah, Danny could also just not draw his AoE, and Triple Double could just end up being able to rush him down with damage.
Yeah, and that's going to reveal another armor, correct? Another ice barrier, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he still has the ice block sitting there. So I guess it kind of comes down to how quickly, like you said, how quickly Triple Double can rush down his health pool.
Yeah, and we see Justicar Trueheart come out here for Triple Double, which is getting that hero power online now is going to be really valuable because you have to expect that you're going to get AoE'd, and having that hero power is probably one of the best upgraded hero powers, and it's going to give you a board presence every turn after you get AoE'd.
Yeah,
Especially,
2 mana for 2/1/1s is pretty hard to beat.
yeah, especially with the threat of Quartermaster always looming.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he draws into another one. But that's definitely a really strong play. Continuously loading the board with dudes and then being able to buff them up to 3/3s. It could be really a really strong set of plays.
Mm.
And he likes to actually use some of his burn to take out the 6/3, which I don't think that's a bad play at all. I think it slows down Triple Double a little bit because there's not really a clean way to answer the 6/3, and that 6 damage would prove pretty difficult.
The only issue is you do effectively the same thing by pinging. You're only preventing 3 more damage by fireballing, but it also, to some degree, you lose a win condition because
That's
after
a really
you
good
Alex,
point. Yeah.
after you Alex them, that's like you're never going to be able to find the burst now. Like at least you have a chance to find like a frostbolt or something, so you can go fireball, frostbolt, ice lance, and then finish them off with pyroblast. But now you have no win condition.
Yeah, that's
in your
that's a really
hands.
good point. I didn't even do the math on that. If he adjusted ping to 3/1, it would have been only 3 damage difference. So
Yeah,
I think you're right. Utilizing that fireball to clear a 6/3 was a bit of a waste.
yeah. Like look at this now. Imagine if he had pinged instead. The 3 damage is pretty much a moot point at this point, right? Like you're getting his opponent has way more than 15 damage on board, so the
Yeah.
fireball over the ping was completely irrelevant.
Yeah, Danny doesn't have ultimate options. I mean, I think Triple Double can pretty much clean up the board for the most part, and pop that ice block this turn and bring him down as low as he has to in health.
Yeah, actually, maybe even Acolyte would be strong too to just try to cycle to your Blizzards or Flame Strikes because you have to get it or you can't win. At this point, I don't think there's any way Danny can make a comeback, but Freeze Mage can always just draw Frost Nova and like Doomsayer and then Ice Lance the face and play a second Ice Block. So there's always like ways, and we see the Frost Nova, and he has the Ice Lance.
Yeah, and he has another ice block, so
Yeah, I'm not sure why we're seeing hits into these. Like, this seems really weird. Like, sure, you make your opponent overdraw, but you're also drawing them into what they need at the same time.
yeah.
He could have just ignored the acolytes and gave his opponent less outs. You're burning 2 cards, but you're also giving your opponent access to 3 or 4 more. Whereas they would only have been able to attack twice.
Now, did it
and
give
draw
him
2
anything
cards.
useful? I mean, Ice Lance is useful for win condition. The Explosive Sheep can be pretty useful.
It gave him Frost Nova.
Yeah.
And I guess it burned relevant cards too. It burned an Ice Lance and a blizzard, but I feel like in that position, you can afford to just take away their outs to actually stopping the board. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like you
Yeah,
give your
so
opponent more cards to find their outs to not die, but they also you could burn their win conditions.
yeah, and I mean, triple double's in an interesting situation here. He did have to utilize one of those ice lances to freeze the weapon in order to not have his ice block pop. Which, I mean, what are your thoughts on that play? And that, he's going to preserve the ice block for another turn, which essentially saves him for not just one turn, but two turns instead, utilizing the ice lance.
Oh yeah, I definitely like this play. This
Yeah.
is how he comes back, and now he just Alexes himself. I don't think you can Alex your opponent because you've burned so much. You could Alex your opponent, but you don't really have a way to kill them yet. And then you're gonna have to somehow save yourself. If he Alexes his opponent, he's gonna get his block popped, and then he's not gonna be able to one shot triple double. So it's it's way too risky to Alex your opponent. I think you kind of have to Alex yourself here.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to elect to do.
He also only has 4 cards in his deck, and he's used almost all of his burn. He got an Ice Lance burned, or not an Ice Lance. He got a Blizzard burned, and he got a Fireball already used early, so he doesn't actually have too much burn left to actually end the game.
Yeah,
He,
and triple double has a pretty strong turn here. He's going to be able to remove that Alex, and he can play Muster for Battle and Quartermaster after he utilizes the weapon.
yeah, he. That seems like the play that would put the most pressure on the board, but he decides to go with this play, which I don't mind either. It gets really punished by sheep, but at the same time you play around Flame Strike, which I think this is actually from Triple Double. I really like this play, even though he got punished for it. I like playing around Flame Strike
Yeah.
a lot because if he plays the Quartermaster, he plays into Flame Strike. If he doesn't play the Quartermaster, his board gets cleared by Flame Strike, but you still have the Quartermaster.
Yeah, that's very true. So he does elect to play the Quartermaster now with the 2/1/1s on the board.
Yeah, but it looks like Danny actually, because he found the Frost Nova, he actually is able to make a comeback because now we're just going to see Archmage Antonidas come down. He has an Ice Block up, and he's going to draw 2 Fireballs and do 8, 5, 9 damage to the face, most likely. And
Yeah.
then also attack with Emperor to the face.
Yeah, I think it does look like Danny's going to end up taking this game.
Or actually, it might be better to just play Blood Mage and then play Fireball, Frostbolt, Ice Lance. I'm not sure on that. Let me do the math. 7, 4, 5. So 16 plus ping. He would do 21. He would set up for lethal if he did that this turn and then had Pyroblast, but you lose to any healing with that route. This route, you have more longevity because you get more Fireballs. And you could also choose not to play the Thalnos, I guess. That's fine too. Playing the Thalnos could actually lose you the game because you only have 2 cards left in your deck and then you go die to your Fatigue 1 turn earlier.
And, I mean, what do you think about him? He ends up trading into the Quartermaster there. Instead of putting pressure on face. I mean, he knows he keeps Tharson regardless, but do you think that would have put him a little bit closer to lethal if he had put that 4 damage to face instead?
No, he's preventing his block from getting popped, which, because he didn't play the Thalnos, I like. But if he plays the Thalnos, it would make no sense, unless he's playing the Thalnos to end the game. Because he'll die through Fatigue.
Yeah, that's true.
If he's never going to play Thalnos, I like this a lot. And it looks like he's probably just going to end the game next turn. So, I like the way he chose to play it. He didn't get his block pop that turn. And his Emperor never even died. Now he's going to triple Fireball the face.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to play Thalnos to get the extra damage or anything.
Yeah, that was a crazy game.
Yeah, definitely interesting. I didn't see Danny coming back from that, but a couple good card draws and a couple good plays put him right back in it, and he ends up taking game two as well as game one.
Yeah, that was impressive by Danny. I think the turn that kind of changed the game was when Triple Double allowed Danny to draw so many cards. He hit into the Acolyte to make his opponent overdraw, but at the same time, he gave his opponents all the tools he needed to clear the board and end up reversing the game state.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what did he end up burning anyway? Just a Blizzard and something else. I can't quite remember what the
Yeah,
second
it,
card was. But
it was like a Blizzard and something that clearly ended up not mattering. But
yeah, I was about to say, obviously nothing significant enough. Maybe if Archmage had been destroyed, it would have been a little bit different, but not the case.
yeah, it
So
looks.
we'll hop into game three here. Danny playing on his last class, the Priest, and TripleDouble going to stick to his mid-range Paladin.
Um, I really like this. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter what you queue up as Triple Double at this point. You're down 2-0, and you have to beat Priest with all three of your classes anyways. So
Yeah, you might as well stick to what you're comfortable with, and you down a game, he goes to Paladin. It's probably a deck that he is comfortable with, and he ends up sticking with it. So
yeah, or he thinks he has a favorable matchup to some degree because a lot of people play their two best matchups first just to try to gain momentum and like feel good and feel confident before they play their hardest one.
yeah.
And
Now, how
some
do
people,
you how do you think Dragon Priest fares against a mid-range Paladin?
um, it's a very grindy matchup, but Triple Double plays a lot of cards that are just generally good in grindy matchups. Like he plays Justicar, he has the double Quartermaster, he has like Lay on Hands, and he just has a lot of threats that are constant, especially against Priest. Like Justicar making two creatures a turn is so hard to deal with as any
Yeah.
deck that isn't mage or yeah, pretty much any deck that isn't mage.
Yeah, and it definitely forces your opponent to utilize their removal or at least trade more often than they want to. Um, and all you're doing to play the 2/1/1s is hitting that button for 2 mana.
Yeah. But with that said, Danny did get a really strong draw. He drew the Dragon Whelp, or the Twilight, is it the Twilight Whelp, off the top of his deck on turn one, and then he
Yes.
drew the Northshire Cleric off the top turn two. So the Northshire is going to prevent Triple Double from even being able to hero power, which is going to be really good for him. Even though, if I were in Danny's position, knowing I don't have a Velen's Chosen before he top decked it, so it ends up working out for him.
Yeah.
But there's some merit to just holding the Northshire Cleric in your hand, so that way your opponent actually does hero power, so you can hit in and draw the card.
I gotcha. Playing a little bit of a little meta game on top of the game there.
Yeah, it looks like Velen's Chosen's going to come down on the Northshire, and we're just going to see him smork, which I really like a lot. As a paladin, they play probably one silence at most, so you're not really going to get punished.
Yeah, that's true. And looking at TripleDouble's hand, he doesn't have really much of an answer to any of these. He's gonna Aldor the 3/7, but it still has its effect, and it still has 7 health. So it's gonna sit on the board, and it's still gonna make a difference getting this card draws.
Yeah, I think we're just going to see trade,
And a little bit
and
of heal.
probably a heal, and just draw cards, gain card advantage. The
Yeah.
paladin has so many cards up on you, but with this Northshire Cleric, you're most likely just going to be drawing so many cards you'll be able to catch up to their card advantage.
Yeah, that's very true.
This is one way Priest can stay in the long, grindy games.
It's just
And
keeping that card advantage.
yeah, and that Northshire still has the spell power buff, so it's not like he lost that. Those Holy Novas are still going to deal 3 damage. They're still going to be able to clear minions that get buffed by a Quartermaster, and they're still going to be able to clear the Zombie Chow even.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a really strong next turn for Danny. I mean, he's going to get a card draw for 2 because he's going to heal up the Northshire Cleric. So
Yeah, I can't imagine we don't see a Holy Nova here. Probably just attack face Holy Nova, heal up the Northshire to
hmm
full, and draw a card, clear the board. That seems really strong.
yeah, and he ends up drawing into Blackwing, or I believe
Double
Blackwing
Blackwing
Corruptor, correct?
Corruptor.
Yeah. So that's going to allow him to help answering some of the bigger minions that might start getting dropped by triple double. Such as Justicar Trueheart. Blackwing Corruptor is going to be an easy answer for something like that. Though
Mm-hmm.
this is where it's going to start getting annoying for Danny. He's going to start having 1-1s popping out on the board every turn. Granted, he has a 1-7 on the board to answer them, and he can continue to
Yeah.
get card draw off that.
So sometimes this matchup isn't so determined by tempo, and it's determined by like what threats you have and how they can answer it. But Danny's just curved out so well that his tempo might just be enough to pull him through to a win
Yeah,
because of how slow triple double start seemed. Even though he had Zombie Chow and
Muster.
Muster for battle,
Yeah.
Danny had the perfect answers to those.
Yeah, he got a couple really solid top decks. Like you said, the Twilight Whelp and Into the Northshire Cleric into a Villain's Chosen was a really good set of draws.
Yeah, and it looks like he draws Chillmaw. He's looking to have some Netflix and Chillmaw time with triple double
Netflix and chill all time. I like that.
quality.
Quality for sure. I mean, Murloc Knight's not a terrible pickup here, but I think I was about to say I think the Quartermaster is a better play. Just puts a few more threats on the board, allows you to clear the 3/6, and
The problem is,
he's
again,
still got that
that
spell power.
the Northshire still has that spell power. He's just gonna hit his. He's even gonna draw two cards. Like his Dark Cultist is gonna hit into the Quartermaster, and we're gonna see a Holy Nova, and we're that's so much card advantage on top of tempo advantage. It's
Yeah,
insane. We might even see Shrinkmeister come out just to try to end the game sooner.
these
Or
are
I
the,
don't
these
know.
are the kind of games that I dislike playing as a player. Against Priest, and they just get so much value. I mean, this Northshire Cleric's been on the board for how long now? He's lost like what, a Whelp and a Blackwing Corruptor maybe. Like,
Northshire Cleric came down on the board turn 2 and has not left since.
yeah, he's making a nice and homey space over there on Danny's side of the board.
Mm-hmm. And we're actually getting really close to just having the game end. He's actually only, let's see, he's 6 damage off lethal right now, but he's going to be able to have a turn that's like Twilight Guardian, Vol'jin, and just hit Northshire in, and then probably
Yeah,
just and probably just hit the Dark Cultist or the Wormist Agent in and just clear that way.
yeah. Which one would you elect? I mean, at this point in the game, it doesn't matter all too much, but I think I would use the Dark Cultist just to get that health buff on one of my minions.
Yeah, I would use the Dark Cultist to get the health buff and to protect the taunt. And if the buff goes on the Wormist Agent, he gets to protect his minions and his light from getting hit by the Ashbringer. So
Yeah,
like having a taunt that has more than 5 health is insanely good when your opponent has an Ashbringer equipped.
definitely. And
Yeah.
we see Danny with a really formidable board, and I don't think any way for triple double to deal with it in any way. Um,
He needed to
efficiently
draw
enough.
quality.
Yeah, I think equality probably would have been the only thing to save him, and even then, I don't think it would have got him back in the game.
No, his whole turn would have been equality consecrate, and then you have 3 mana after that, and you have an Ashbringer already, so we'd probably just see a hero power, which is pretty weak.
Yeah,
But I like that Danny didn't play his Twilight Guardian. He just opted to play around equality, knowing that that's triple double's only out, and if he doesn't have it, he probably wins anyways.
yeah, definitely. And we're gonna see a healbot come down for triple double, but once again, I don't think it's enough to save him. 7 damage on the board. He can play anything, upwards of Chillmaw, Chromagus. He can Blackwing Corruptor for a little bit extra damage to face or to clear the healbot, which he elects to do. And
Mm. I
just
think,
throw down another taunt.
yeah, I think Twilight Guardian's really strong here because there's no efficient way to clear it on the board. Triple Double would have to have, again, equality consecrate as his only out. But you have so many cards in the hand as Danny that I think it's okay to just put down the Twilight Guardian and just say, if you don't have it this turn, I win. I know you didn't have it last turn, so you have to top deck it or you lose the game.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll see what he gets. Not gonna be it. So I believe that will be game. going to Danny in a 3-0 sweep. Pretty dominating performance by Danny.
Yeah, the only thing that can get him out of this potentially is an Annoyotron or some taunt off the Shredder, but even then, I don't think that's enough.
A Neurotron wouldn't be enough, would it?
Annoyotron plus an Aldor on the
On the
okay,
Vol'jin, I
yeah, and a
guess would.
Consecrate to clear. So you hit the Shredder in, you Consecrate, you Aldor the Vol'jin, and then you're not technically dead,
Yeah.
but it's triple double. I guess you just played your outs. If only that had died going into his turn.
Yes. That would have been a nice drop a little bit earlier, but I don't think that it'll do it here for triple double.
No, he could play Coghammer actually. That's another out because that Doomsayer does have 7 health, which is actually pretty funny.
Yeah. So he's actually, yeah, he's gonna be able to clear the board, and just for a little bit of
Wait,
fun, there's a nice
Doomsayer
hero.
actually gets to go off.
Yeah.
Oh my. Wait, does Doomsayer actually? I think it gets to go off.
I think it does. I don't think there's. Well, yeah, you can't light bomb it.
That's actually insane. Oh my god, that's insane.
So he ends up living with 5 health, and he gets initiative.
That's that just like blew my mind.
He's
Like,
gonna get 3 juggles here too. So I mean, I still don't see this winning him the game, but that was pretty crazy. A nice little heads up play. Cog hammering the Doomsayer, and lucky drop from the Shredder.
yeah, I didn't really like think that the Doomsayer would help. Like when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. But the Cog Hammer and the fact that he couldn't clear it, like that's crazy. He actually has a chance to win because even with Light Bomb, you're not clearing the Murlocs.
I mean, wouldn't Chilma be enough to clear the board though?
No, Chilma won't clear the Murloc Knight.
Oh yeah, you're right. It won't clear the marathon. It only has 3. So
She'll just trade all the minions in, and then Chilma will happen.
so I guess I mean, it likes to play Chilma anyway, but I
That's
mean,
crazy.
do you see a way for triple double to make something happen here, or
Yeah, you just trade in your Knife Juggler and your 2/1/1s and your 1/2 into Chilma, and then you see that the 3 damage of AoE comes out. You hero power with the Murloc Knight, and maybe you get a charge Murloc that can trade into the Blackwing Technician, and then you play your Harrison, and you just try to regain tempo and see what you can do from there.
it's true? And I mean, he doesn't get the charge. That would have been. I didn't even think about that. That would have been amazing. Though I don't know if you get lucky enough to have 2 significant drops like that in one game.
Here, I think you can actually face tank the damage knowing that both Holy Novas have been played. There's really no burst from Priest at this point. I would actually feel. I mean, I don't feel comfortable in triple doubles position at all, but I would feel comfortable face tanking the damage and hoping that my opponent doesn't have an AoE because you have to do something to try to win. And trading in your Murloc Knight, I just don't see how you win once you do that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the only thing that would have been an out, or rather a win for Danny would have been something like a smite. But I've never known Dragon Priest to run smite, at least not very often.
Oh man.
Um, and a light bomb is going to clean this up. So
Yeah, we might see a Chromagus Power Word Shield Dream coming where Chromagus will double the card that gets drawn off of Power Word Shield. That's actually pretty cool.
yeah, that is a nice combo. And he's going to clean up the cultist here, but
Yeah. Hero Power and play Shredder. That's actually board presence. Man, Shredder placement. If he gets a Flame Tongue Totem off that Shredder, he's going to feel silly.
yeah, definitely. He gets another Power Word Shield off the draw. So do you go
Yeah.
with that like super combo? Just fill your hand up with more answers?
Um,
Or
I
do you
don't think
play
your
Agent?
Chromagus is gonna die if you play Wormist Agent, so there's merit in just protecting your Chromagus and playing Wormist Agent.
And essentially ending the game regardless. But
Yeah,
he ends up
if it
bluffing.
lives, the game's over, like you said, yeah, but we do see the Aldor in the hand, so double power word shield also protects the Chromagus to some degree as well. It's almost like the same thing because it's 4 health,
Yeah.
but ooh, that's really bad for triple double.
Yeah, that pretty much neutralizes, his entire board of 1/1s. So
Yeah, like he actually had, I mean, a very very small chance, be it, but some chance. But with that, like that's just gonna clear his whole board and leave him only with a 1/1 or a 3/1 Aldor Peacekeeper, which isn't really gonna do much.
yeah, and Danny just has a massive hand. He drew
So
into
many one
two
drops.
Twilight Whelps, Northstrike Clerics.
Yeah, I don't like not playing the Azure Drake first, but it probably won't end up mattering.
Yeah. Another Northshire Cleric to come down. Like, yeah, at this point, TripleDouble has no way to answer the board, and the equality that he needed many turns ago ends up being drawn, and that will not be enough. So now the game should go to Danny.
3-0, right? It's
Yeah,
gonna be 3-0
3-0.
to Danny. That's quite impressive. He's just a very interesting lineup too.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing what? Freeze Mage? What was his Paladin? I forget. Was that a mid-range Paladin
Yeah, it
or?
was mid-range Paladin, Freeze
Yeah.
Mage, and Priest, Dragon Priest.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Priest in and of itself is an interesting lineup, or is an interesting piece to the lineup, I should say.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
And he has Chromagus, which is kind of unique for a Dragon Priest. I don't think most of them play it.
Yeah, I don't know many that play them either. So that'll be a 3-0 going to Danny and his
Yeah.
interesting lineup. But any comments on that set of matches or set of games rather before we head to a little bit of a break and head into the finals?
Not really. That was just very well played by Danny. I think there was some plays that TripleDouble could have done better in the Rogue matchup, but other than that, like Danny had a really good curve almost every single game, and I think he was favored in the first game. I think he was favored in the second game, and I think the third game just came down to him curving out perfectly.
Just about perfectly, yeah.
Yeah.
Those excellent draws. But I think that'll be it for just for now. We're going to be going into the finals in probably about 5 minutes, so stick around, don't touch that browser, and we will be right back.